Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second episode of AEW Dynamite Discussion. On this show we talk everything AEW Dark and Dynamite. Let's get straight to it. AEW Dark premiered this week and it was a little underwhelming honestly, but let's get to the review. We began the show with a match between Darby Allin and CIMA. In my opinion, Allin is an amazing performer and had two excellent matches this week. CIMA's pretty good, but if you haven't noticed, I tend to like darker, gimmick-based characters. Allin took the win in this match and stood tall over his opponent, much to my pleasure. We then had an 8-man tag team match between Best Friends and Private Party and the Lucha Bros, Angelico and Jack Evans. This was a very fun match with a lot of great moves hit from all 8 men. The crowd was very into this match, as I was. The Lucha Bros honestly stunned me after what WWE had put in my head about the Lucha Libres. In the end, it was Best Friends and Private Party who would capture the win. Bea Priestley and Penelope Ford versus Britt Baker and Allie. I have to say, so far the women's division of AEW hasn't really blown me away yet. This match was very long and dragged on. I feel like there's a lot of potential here, but I also feel like they've been given throwaway gimmicks that nobody really cares about. But in the end, it was Britt Baker and Allie who won. And finally, the dark main event. SCU versus the Jurassic Express. In all honesty, I don't really give a damn about either of these teams, to be honest with you, and I feel like the Darby Allin match should have been the main event, but this was fun with a lot of tension between these two teams. In all honesty, people like Marco Stunt and Riho bother me because a lot of their matches are just unrealistic with their size and take away from the realness of the fights. But, as I said, the match was good, and in the end it was SCU who would take a win. Now, obviously dark matches will never be as good as the main show, but even taking that into account, the only real thing that interested me in this premiere episode was Darby Allin versus CIMA, so that leaves them with a starting score of a 6 out of 10. Thankfully, this week's episode of Dynamite was great once more, with even more action than last week. The show began with the beginning of the tag team tournament, the Young Bucks versus Private Party. I think between last week's 3-on-3 and this week's tournament match, the Young Bucks have become my favorite AEW tag team. The match was absolutely great with so much from all 4 men. In the end, it was Private Party who will be moving to the semifinals, much to my dismay. Chris Jericho then made his way to the ring, accompanied by Sammy Guevara, Jake Hager, Santana, and Ortiz. He introduced each member as a new name on his list. When Jake Hager was announced, the crowd began to chant the We the People, to which Jericho responded, and I quote, "We the People sucks, and it's dead and buried. It was a stupid idea from bad creative, and it's all gone." He introduced the faction as the Inner Circle. You're welcome. Our next match was a number 1 contenders match for the AEW World Championship, Darby Allin versus Jimmy Havoc. These two are amazing performers and had an amazing match. After a long and grueling match with no fingers broken, Darby Allin is set to face Chris Jericho next week for the title. Our first and only women's match took place in the form of Riho and Britt Baker versus Bea Priestley and Sakura. This match was okay, and in my opinion, the worst match on Wednesday. I found myself bored and keeping myself focused on NXT. The women's champion and Doctor only won, but then were attacked by the opposing team. Ty Dillinger, sorry guys. Shawn Spears versus Jon Moxley. A fantastic match. So much from both of these men as expected. Moxley took the win, and as he made his way out, he ran into Kenny Omega, who held a barbed wire broom and a barbed wire bat. He threw the bat to Moxley, who grabbed it only for Pac, who had previously joined the commentary team, to deliver a chair to Omega's head. The main event, and a fantastic main event. Dustin and Hangman Page versus Chris Jericho and Sammy Guevara. A great display of skill from all 4 men. Jake Hager stood at ringside where he would deliver several blows to both Page and Rhodes to help Jericho and Guevara take the win. The Inner Circle then decides to stick around and have some fun trying to take out Dustin, only for Page to interrupt and have a brawl with Hager. The lights suddenly go out and Cody finds himself in the ring, hitting the crossroads on Guevara and facing off with Jericho. Santana and Ortiz blindside the boss man. MJF acts as though he's going to come to attack Cody and take out the Inner Circle instead. Jericho then takes out MJF and the Young Bucks arrive to his aid. And did it end? No, it didn't. Darby Allin takes out Jericho while riding on a skateboard. Fantastic. Fantastic. This week's main event was even better than last week somehow, but unfortunately because of the women's match, it will take the Dynamite rating down to a 9 out of 10. That's it for this week's episode of AEW Dynamite Discussion. Let me know what you thought of the Dark premiere down below. And while you're there, feel free to click the subscribe button and the bell notifications for weekly content. I hope you've all enjoyed yourselves, and always remember, fight on!